Hello. So, moving on to step 3 of the 12 steps, I just want to go back for a second and review steps 1 and 2. Step 1 is we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, or fill in the blank. It's anything over people, places, and things, that our lives had become unmanageable. Step 2 came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. And step 3, which is today's video on, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him or her or it, whatever your God is. But just a quick review. We admitted we were powerless over fill in the blank. Again, that is basically we are powerless over everything, and except for ourselves, really. And we have to have a look at the things that we try to control, especially those things that, if we're rigorously honest with ourselves, that cause us harm. Cause harm to ourselves and harm to others. And unmanageability doesn't necessarily mean that we're financially bankrupt or living in the streets or heading to prison, although that can be, the extreme forms of the negative effects of addiction of any kind. But unmanageability can be, just how I show up in my relationships. My relationships aren't going well. It can show up in my self-care. It can show up in my health. Perhaps my health is now unmanageable because I have these addictive habits or negative tendencies that are causing my health to be unmanageable. My mood might be unmanageable. In the big book, we call it restless, irritable, and discontentment, but it can also show up as extreme anxiety or depression or obsessive compulsive behaviors, or you name it. So unmanageability can show up in a multitude of ways, and if you wear the title of human, you have experienced and will experience unmanageability in your life. And there is always a solution, and it's not usually in my head that the best solution comes, unless I am truly connected with the higher power of that resonates with me. So we'll get into that. So step 1, we admitted we were powerless over fill in the blank, alcohol or fill in the blank, that our lives had become unmanageable. Step 2 came to believe that a power greater than myself could restore us to sanity. So obviously, if we find ourselves repeating the same behaviors, having the same ruminating thoughts or emotional swings, then obviously I'm not the power that is going to solve this problem. I might be able to create a little reprieve for myself. I might come up with a temporary solution. However, it's usually very short-lived, and it's usually not without me trying to drive it and force it, and in this energy that is very, very compulsive, and usually comes with an irritation to it of just forcing things to get done. And it might not be it might not look outwardly forceful. It could be just coming from an angst or a force from within. And eventually we just, as human beings, we can't sustain that, and eventually the habits or the negative tendencies will repeat again and again. So if I am not the power, if I don't have the sustaining power to solve my unmanageability in some cases, then there has to be a power greater than me. There has to be. And so that's what takes us to step 3. Step 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. Okay, so remembering that the 12 steps were written and formulated by a group that was originally Christian based. So, of course, it has those kind of traditional language of Christian theology. And so we'll use words like him or God. However, whatever your faith is, whatever your higher power is, it does not, you don't have to call it God. You don't have to call it Jesus or Buddha or anything. It's just a power that is greater than you. So it could be the power of a collective group, the power of support from a collective group. I know somebody who's an atheist who calls his higher power truth, beauty, and justice. It's a set of values and ideals that he turns to his higher power to find the solutions for his unmanageability and his negative tendencies. And that works beautifully for him. And it's a very real and concrete process that he goes through when he turns to his higher power, truth, beauty, and justice. There are those of us who believe in God, whatever that means to me, versus whatever that means to you. I believe in God. God is my higher power. I turn to God within me and around me, and I have my different practices that help me to do that. But that doesn't mean that your higher power has to be my higher power. We all have our own inner guidance on that. And so it's about finding out who is your higher power and to really begin the path of faith in that higher power. Because previous to step 3, we were in despair. Our lives had become unmanageable. We're not doing well. There's something that's not right. And so we need to start feeling like we have something that we can turn to, something, maybe it's deep down inside of us that we don't take time to regularly access, which is that stillness within. So even if your higher power is the stillness within yourself, that is definitely bigger, greater, more powerful than the ego, the will. So this step 3 is asking us to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God or your higher power as you understand God or your higher power. What does that mean? Turn our will and our lives over. So in other videos, and for myself lately, I have especially thought about what does turning my will over to God mean? It means God first, God first, God first. It means putting God at the forefront of my thinking, of my thoughts, of my actions, of my decisions, of my moods. My cat is trying to steal the show here. So that means that I must take pause and go within throughout the day so that I can check in and say, am I connected right now? Am I reacting through my higher power's guidance? What does my higher power stand for? My higher power stands for compassion, understanding, acceptance, love, forgiveness. So if I turn to all of those aspects of my higher power, especially during my times of unmanageability, and especially during the times of trying to end negative tendencies, and I turn my life and my will over to my higher power, I am surrendered. I am following love. I am following acceptance. I will not be violent with myself if I am living and putting my God first. And that is the beginning of faith. That is matching my belief through the display of my actions, through my choices. So for a very long time, except for my brief, maybe a good year of atheism, I have believed in God. I've always felt a very deep connection with God. But what I had to realize as I worked the 12 steps is I felt it here, but I didn't know how to go inside into that stillness and deeply and intimately connect with that power. So most of my relationship happened more cerebrally, happened more in my thoughts, like, yeah, I believe in God. Yeah, thank you, God. You know, I could be grateful. I can feel awe of nature and of love and beauty and all of those things. But I didn't go inside and really take the time to meet God and devote myself and build my faith muscles and learn how to sit in my discomfort when instead of acting out in some kind of negative way, seeking comfort through substances or behaviors, rather than seeking love of myself and of God, seeking behaviors and substances to make myself feel better, rather than seeking that stillness, that intimacy within, that divinity within me and around me, rather than seeing it in myself and seeing it in other people, even when people might be doing or saying hurtful things to me. So this happens to all of us. This is a daily practice, turning my life and my will over to God. That means God first, God first, God first. Say it what you want it to be. Higher power first, higher power first, higher power first. Love first, love first, love first. Does love gossip? Does love abuse its body with unhealthy substances and behaviors? Does love hold grudges? Does love lose control of their words and cause harm to others or self? Does love beat itself up? No. So if my higher power is love, and I think most people can say, okay, let's call love my higher power, and maybe you're a believer that Jesus is the full expression of love. Maybe you're a believer that God is the full expression of love. Maybe you're a believer that Buddha is the full expression of love. Maybe you're a believer that Muhammad is the full expression of love. Whoever, whatever. If simply love is your higher power, love would not engage in the negative tendencies that our wills often do to seek pleasure and to avoid pain. So this means this is a practice. We're making a decision. Step 3 is making a decision. We're not in the action steps. We're saying, okay, I'm signing a contract with myself so that every day I am going to practice putting God first, my higher power first, love first. And so that is a tall order. And in my opinion, that's why we're all on this planet, is to learn how to do that, to build that level of muscle and purpose and connection with our own divinity, to know that we are capable of that, but it's a practice, and it's going to take time and patience and love and acceptance as we continue to practice. So it's not about beating ourselves up and saying, oh my God, we did it again. I was just not proud of myself because of a customer service call that I was on. I wasn't happy and I lost my control. Something's going on with me with customer service lately that's creating a big challenge. And in the moment, the words were coming out of my mouth to this person that I'm not, that person was just doing their job and reading their script. And here I was being all indignant and demanding And, so yeah, I didn't feel good after that. And I'm sure that person didn't feel good. And I can spend the day beating myself up and maybe wanting to go numb out or feel bad about myself or go hide under the blankets or whatever. We get a buildup of that stuff inside of us, and that's what we wind up doing. We wind up turning to the negative behaviors and substances to escape, because we all have that inner voice and that conscience. So it's not about beating ourselves up. It's like, yeah, I lost it. Big lesson for me. So to try to make an energetic amends, like I'm sorry, and to now move forward and do my best and try to practice to put God first, to accept my humanness and put God first again and again and again and again and again and again. The 12-step process is a practice, just like yoga, which is the uniting of the mind, body, and spirit, is a practice. It's the same thing. So, so the first 3 steps are decisions to do this, to practice this, and then next step is step 4, and that might be a bit of a longer chat, because that is doing a fearless moral inventory of ourselves, having a good thorough look at our resentments and our fears and our conduct, and it's like a purifying process. So every spiritual path offers purification, right? If we're looking to evolve ourselves, we have to purify that which we've collected over the years, which is a lot. We all are human. We all have negative tendencies, and we hold on to them. And sometimes other people hold on to our offenses as well, but we hold on to them. And so the step 4 that we'll be moving into next time is about how to purify and let go of those things. And that's a very powerful step. All of these steps are so powerful. So thank you for having a listen to step 3 of the 12 steps. And I will look forward to chatting with you about step 4 next time. Thanks. Bye.